There is a new study from the Women's Media Center in partnership with the BBC that says female superheroes can help girls become more confident and see themselves as leaders. There is a confidence gap. Here's a chart from this study. It says, this is how teens 15 to 19 describe themselves. Confident, the yellow is the girls. It's 11% lower among girls in finding yourself confident, 13% gap in terms of finding yourself brave. But when it comes to not being listened to, feeling like you're not being listened to, the girls are behind. This is 15 to 19. They're ahead. They feel like they're in this. They have a higher score, but that's a bad thing. They don't feel like they're listened to by a gap of 19%. But how do they feel about role models that are of the same gender as them? Here, are there enough? Here's one part of that study that says there's not enough role models of their gender. The orange is the boys. They feel like only 35% of boys don't feel like there's enough. 63% of girls don't feel like there's enough. When it comes to not enough relatable characters of their gender, boys only 40%. The gap there is 25%. 65% of girls feel like there are not enough relatable characters. 65% of girls also feel like there are not enough strong characters of their genders. And this is girls 10 to 19. So yeah, that's the findings of it. Just right there is this gap where there feels like there's not enough, and they're feeling like they're not being listened to. There's a confidence gap. But when it comes to how they feel when they see their favorite female characters, here are the stats there. 84% say it makes them feel strong. 81% makes them feel brave. 80% confident. 77% feel inspired. All these things. They feel more positive. They feel more motivated when they see sci-fi and superheroes that are their genders. Is that? I mean, they're the findings.
So I had I would argue a great post game with Eric Byler, who works on TYT Investigates and Rebel Headquarters for us, and he also makes movies, particularly about race. And we talked about how media is the culture, and he grew up in Hawaii. He's mixed race. He's half white, half Asian, and he went to college. And a professor asked, "Are you more concerned about your safety when you something along these lines?" You can watch if you're a member, watch the post game, please, for yourself, because I thought it was a really great one. tyt.com/join to become a member to watch that. Anyway, to summarize, he said he said yeah he raised his hand honestly and said, I think I am more scared if I see a black guy at night, a large black guy at night, rather than a large white guy. And he's a perfectly liberal guy. He's like, why, Jesus, how did that get into my head? And that's a great question. How did that get into my head? Because he's not a bad guy. He's not a right winger by any stretch of the imagination. This was back in college. And the answer is the media. And so local news, nonstop flashing minorities. Trouble. I mean, and that got bigger ratings. Minorities in white neighborhoods doing crime, big ratings. Because why? Fear works, and fear of the other. And then there's movies and there's TV, etc. And so that's why this study is important. Because if you never saw someone like you in a powerful role, you might not know that that's a normal thing. That's a thing you can strive for, etc. And I would argue that's why it was so important, Margaret, that you did what you did in starring in the first Asian American, show on television. And so what's your take on this?
Well, I think it's incredible. I mean, I think that movies and television and media, it's our mythology, and we need myths to survive so we can figure out what to do and who we are and how to act and how to be. And so when you see images of yourself out there, it's like this confirmation that, oh, I'm not invisible. And that's such a powerful thing. And I think, actually I started comedy really young, but my first desire was to be Wonder Woman, the Linda Carter Wonder Woman. Yes. So I had started my training program, I was probably about 8 or 9, and I was jumping off the stairs, I would increase every few weeks one other stairs. So I'd gone to like 4 stairs and I was jumping off, and then I thought, I'm gonna do comedy instead. This is too hard. And so it was a real choice to oh, I'm gonna do this instead, because I saw Joan Rivers doing comedy, and I thought, well, that seems like it would be more fun than being Wonder Woman.
Okay, so I saw Richard Bey being a talk show host and found out later that he was Turkish, and I'm like, that's
really?
It. Yeah, it turns out Richard Bey is Turkish, Dr. Oz is Turkish.
Dr. Oz.
See, role models all of a sudden.
That's right.
Look, I don't know that I think I started before Dr. Oz, but still.
Reputable doctor, reputable talk show host.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, guys, the media, like I said, is the culture, and the culture is what you, in a sense, what you think of yourself, how you form your identity. That is why it's important to have movies that celebrate women, people of color, etc. And by the way, it turns out Hollywood, they do really well. Black Panther, Wonder Woman, etc.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians did amazing. And it's both funny and sad that it took them all this time to realize, oh right, there's other people in the world. And oh my God, it turns out half of them are women. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.